Another useful design pattern that you may see in mobile applications are what Ionic calls tabs. Now, tabs are a region of buttons, usually at the bottom of the screen like this, that help in creating navigational constructs. Now, there's a couple of versions of this. So if you take a look at the CSS section of the document, you can see that we have this tabs link right here. And that takes you to this section that shows you to use divs and classes in order to create the tabs. Now, you can also go to the JavaScript section of the documentation and notice that there are something called Ion tabs as well as Ion tab. And this is used mostly when you're building navigation that has Angular/JavaScript components. So let's go back and take a look at how we might integrate this into this application. So first, I'm going to get rid of this Ion content section, and I'm also going to get rid of this footer and just have the header. And I'm going to create some tabs by creating a div with a class of tabs. And in that div, let me scroll this up a little bit, I'm going to create a series of anchor tags with a class of tab item. So I don't need the href right now, so I'll get rid of that. And then in here, you just put in some text inside the anchor tag. So I can put home right there. And when I save it, you'll see that it creates a button at the bottom of my screen that I can click on to do something. So if I add a couple of more of these, so I'm going to copy this one and just paste it a couple of times, then I can make this one about us, and this one can be calendar. Let me just do about. That's probably fine. If I save this, you'll notice that now I have 3. So they automatically adjust to the width of the device, and they fit nicely in the room that you have. So if I take one of these out, so if I delete one of these and I save, you can see that it gets rid of it and it adjusts the size and the positioning of the other 2. So let's go ahead and undo and put that other one back. Okay, now you can also, of course, add colors. And in Ionic, you usually use the name of the original class and then plus one of the colors, which are positive, and there's a lot of other options. So you have like positive, default, light, stable, calm, balanced, energized, assertive, royal, and dark. And you can use any of those. So if you say royal, which is another favorite of mine, you get this sort of purple. And let's try calm. I think it's sort of like a light blue, which I think I'm going to switch it back just to positive, just to make it look the same as the top. So the content inside the anchor tags is the labels. So here's the label. However, if you want to, you can also use an icon. To do that, you create an I tag, and in that I tag, you add a class, and the class should be icon, and then the name of the icon that you want to use. And all the icons begin with the word ion and then some sort of tag. So for a home icon, you would use ion home. And if you save that, you can see the icon down here. Now, if you need any of these icons, you can go to this website called ionicons.com and find the icon that you want to use visually. There's also a nice search right here. So you can say home and then just click on the icon that you want and get the name from here. So let's do a couple of other icons. I'm going to copy this one and I'll paste it. Make sure you grab the closing I tag, because I've done that before. Just copy this beginning part and forget to close it. So then we'll modify this one to Ion person, and this one can be Ion calendar, right? And you can see that they look really nice down here, but you may notice that the text is now gone. Even though we have it here, the text is not showing up. If you want the text to show, you can add a couple of additional classes. So you can say essentially where the icons need to go. So with something like tabs icon left, and that moves the icon to the left. It resizes everything. I think the text is a little bit small. You can also do tabs icon top, and it just puts the icon on the top and then the text on the bottom. Now there's actually another version of the design. I think it matches more what Android devices look like. And the way that you use this one is by typing in a div with a class of tabs striped. So the name of this design is called striped. And then you grab these and put them in here. And we have to do, let's go ahead and save that. So we actually have to do a couple more things. I'm going to get rid of this tabs positive here and save. And you can see the icons at the bottom. I can move tabs positive over here to this div, and then it'll show up right over here. So you kind of have to reformat these a little bit. And the advantage is that when you click on these or when you highlight them, notice that there's a little bit of a bar at the top. You can also actually make the tabs appear at the very top, right underneath the header. And so you would do tabs top, and that moves the tabs to the top. So here you may want to use something like tabs calm, just to have maybe a slightly different color. And if you click on them, notice that the little highlight is at the bottom. And I think in here, instead of tabs calm, you can actually use tabs background and then the color. So I think you're supposed to do them like this, slightly different looks. And that means that you can say tabs color light, and that would be the color of the icon. So this gives you a little more control. Let's go ahead and view this with the word wrap. I find it a little bit uglier, but sometimes you need to really see the whole design of what you're doing. So tabs background lets you set the color of the background. And if you want to set the color of the element, you use tabs color and then the color that you want to use. Now, if you want to use the sort of JavaScript / Angular version of this code, you have to code the navigation or the tabs a little bit differently. Let's go ahead and get rid of this outside striped div here, and the tabs will go back to the bottom. So instead of using the div with a class of tabs and tabs icon top, you can actually just use an ion tabs directive. This is a custom tag that is managed by Angular, and it will do pretty much the same thing. So I'm saving. You'll notice that it still works just fine. And then instead of using the anchor tag with a class of type item, and then also these icons like this, you can actually do this in an easier way. So I'm just going to get rid of these because these are sort of long. You'll see that the Ionic Angular / JavaScript version of these are a little bit shorter. So you can use either one. So you can say ion tab, and what you would do for the label would say title, and then you would put the label in here, and then you can close that ion tab. So this is definitely a little bit shorter, about, and then the calendar. So it works just like the other one, except that the nomenclature is just a little bit shorter. And you can also add an icon directive or an icon attribute here, and then just sort of type in the icon name if you don't want to use titles here. So let's go ahead and do that. And for this other icon, and this one will be ion calendar. This actually ends up being a little bit cleaner than the other design. There's not so many tags, and these also are more easily programmed with AngularJS. Now you can still control things like where the icons go if you do have a title. So you can say class equals icon top here, and then put the titles back in. Title is home. And that should be actually tabs icon top. And then we can use the titles again if we want to. So we can say about and calendar here. So we can pretty much do the same things that we've done before, but these are going to be more useful for development type projects where we're going to be controlling the actual content of these with Angular and JavaScript. Now, if you want to, you can even add a badge to these. This is pretty cool. So let me show you. The badge is something that you might use for notification. So you would say something like badge equals and then a number here. And then if we save this, you can see the badge appearing down here. And you can also modify the color of the badge. So you can say something like badge style. And then you can say badge assertive. So assertive would be a red color. Now, if you want to learn more about tabs, especially these ion tabs, you can take a look at the documentation right here, and you want to go to this ion tab to see all of the different options, like, for example, the ability to add badges. You can also add completely different icons by using icon off and icon on so that it shows you different icons depending on the state of the tab itself. So tabs are a really useful pattern for creating navigation in your applications. They'll definitely become more useful when we talk about routing and navigation, But you can see that the styles available in Ionic make them super easy to build.